Unable to reach his wife and mother of his 6 kids on phone for 2 straight days, a worried Leonard Bobore left his place of work at Clare Estate and traveled home to Inanda near Durban to check on his family. He would soon be met with the horrific sight that is the subject of our story today. This is the case of the Bobore family. Hi friends, welcome to the Ayira Faith channel. As usual, I am Ayira. Yes, and if you're new here, I post true crime videos weekly. So if that is your vibe, please consider subscribing to this channel and hit the notification bell. Please comment also, and don't be afraid to like my videos. If I did a good job and you like my presentation and you like the story, please don't be afraid to like the video. It's not a crime to like a video about crime, so please just give it a thumbs up kindly. And another thing, I have noticed that my subscriber count has come slightly higher from my last video, so I want to really thank all of you that have subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much. It does help me out, and I am very, very grateful for your support. And for those who are yet to subscribe, please subscribe, because I'm nice. I promise I'm really, really nice. And I would also like to start a routine, a shout out routine. Each time I get a new subscriber, I'll be shouting them out in my next video. So I've gotten a few more subscribers from my last video to this one. However, most of them have set their subscription list to private, so I cannot see their names. However, there are 2 that I was actually able to see their names because their subscriber list is set to public, and I would like to shout them out right now. Peter Acheng, thank you so much. Sarah Sindu, thank you so very much for subscribing. Thank you for your support. And yeah, so every time I get a new subscriber, I'm going to shout them out. This is a challenge I'm putting to myself, and I know I can do it. I'll do it. So today we go to the south of Africa, in South Africa to be precise. Yes, South Africa, the country. And we are in KwaZulu-Natal province. KwaZulu-Natal is in the southeastern part of South Africa. KwaZulu-Natal was formed in 1994 by merging of the Natal province and the KwaZulu province, hence KwaZulu-Natal. Yes, KwaZulu basically means the place of the Zulu. It's just like Swahili, right? KwaZulu, the place of the Zulu, KwaZulu-Natal. And of course, the home of the famous Shaka Zulu. Who watched the Shaka Zulu movie, by the way? The 1990 Shaka Zulu movie. It was good. It was so good. Maybe proud to be a South African, yet I'm Kenyan. So anyway, we are in KwaZulu-Natal, the second most populous province in South Africa. It borders Mozambique, 3 countries actually, Mozambique, Eswatini, and Lesotho. And Durban is the largest city in KwaZulu-Natal. We meet Nobule Leneha. Nobule is 38 years old, born in 1974. This is 2012, December. She's married to Leonard Bobore, who is also 38 years old. They have been married for 14 years, and they have 6 kids together from age 1 to 14. They live in Inanda with Lenea's brother, whose name is Solomon Sepang Mohali. Solomon had been brought over by Lenea to help around in the house and in the farm. They reared chickens, they reared geese, and he was to help out with the feeding of the animals and sometimes cooking and cleaning of the house, and also just a little compound maintenance. So it is 25th December, Christmas Day. Schools are closed. The family ran a tuck shop at Clare Estate, and because schools are closed, then the tuck shop is closed. Okay, it's during the holidays. Solomon is paid 1,500 rand monthly. That is equivalent to Kenyan shillings 16,700. That is back in 2012. I think right now in 2023 that will be 11,200 Kenyan shillings. So he's paid 1,500 rand, and he's meant to do these small jobs around the house, and they're living peacefully. So it's 25th December 2012. Of course, Christmas Day, schools are closed, children are home from the holidays, the tuck shop is closed for a period of time, of course, for the holidays. But Leonard needs to get back. You know, he has 6 kids. He has mouths to feed. He needs to feed these kids. He needs to get back to the tuck shop and keep working. So on 25th December, after all the festivities were done, he said his goodbyes to his wife and his kids, although he was going to miss them, but you know, he had to work. He had to provide for his family. And so he left. He went back to Clare Estate, where the tuck shop was, and left the family in Inanda. So all was well on 25th when Leonard left, 26th, 27th, but come 28th December 2012, Leonard noticed that every time he called his wife, her phone went on voicemail or just rang and was not answered. So he called at first, no answer, called again, no answer, waited for an hour, called again, no answer, waited for 2 hours, called again. His brother-in-law picked the phone. This is Solomon Tsepang, that is Lenea's brother. And he said, you know, Lenea is out and the children are off playing. And when she comes back, I will inform her that you had called and I picked your call and ask her to call you back. She left her phone at home. So he was like, oh, okay. Please, when she comes back, please tell her to return my call. I really need to speak to her. There's some things I need to send to her. So he waits a couple of hours and his phone calls are not returned. So he calls again and the line rings, but no answer. So he waits until the 29th, which is the next day, 29th December 2012, and tries to call again, but this time the phone is off. And he cannot reach the wife, and he can also not reach his brother-in-law, that is Solomon. So what he does is that he calls his neighbor and tells his neighbor, you know what, I am away, I'm in Clare Estate. My family is in Inanda, and I would like you to just go and check in on them because I've been calling my wife and there's been no response. My brother-in-law told me yesterday she was out, she'll come back and call me back, but nothing happened. So please go and check on them and make sure they're okay, they're fine. So the neighbor goes and he comes back and calls back Leonard and tells him, I've been to your house and there's nobody there. The house is locked and it's totally quiet. There's nobody around. So I don't know where your wife is. I don't know where your kids are, but there's nothing of alarm that I've seen. There's nothing alarming that I've seen. It's just as usual, the way the house normally is, but it's locked. I could not get in. So Leonard became even more worried when he heard that and decided to travel back home in Inanda and actually check on his family himself. So he left work and got into, I am assuming, a public means of transportation and went home to Inanda, to his family home. So he got to the compound, and nothing was amiss, nothing was misplaced, there was nothing looking suspicious. He walked around the compound and everything was fine. And then he went to go into the house. So he took out his key from his pocket and went to put it in the keyhole and turn it, but the door swung open. So he noticed the door was open and he was like, what's happening here? Why would my wife leave the door open? And where is everyone? Why are the kids? There's no school. It's during the holidays. They should be playing around outside here. There should be a lot of noise. Or if they're not outside, they should at least be inside the house, right? So he pushed the door open and I remember reading that he said he was hit by a very strange putrid smell that just engulfed him and his eyes started watering. And he stepped into the house further to investigate because what is that? What smells like that? And when he stepped in, he saw his wife lying on the ground in a pool of blood. and her face was totally deformed. He could not actually recognize her. He knew that was his wife from the clothes that she was wearing, and the fact that she still had the 1-year-old strapped on her back. So she was dead and the child was strapped on the corpse. So she died carrying the 1-year-old. So of course he was shocked and hurt and filled with grief, but he rushed there and untied the 1-year-old from the mom's back and carried him to his shoulder. So he says the child was very weak, very dehydrated. He was crying, but no voice was coming out. He was so weak, and he looked very sickly, and was almost on the brink of death. So this was his wife. She's lying in a pool of blood. The child is covered in the mom's blood, dried blood, but blood still. And he was like, where are my other 5 kids? Remember, he had 6 kids. Where are my other 2 boys and my 3 girls? So he started going around the house in a panic looking for his kids. And he looked through each and every room and he couldn't find anyone. There was no one in those rooms. But then he noticed some trails of blood and some footprints of blood. And he followed the trail. And he followed this trail to the bathroom that is in the house. And when he pushed open the door, he was again confronted with the most horrific sight he has ever seen in his entire life. The corpses of his 5 kids, stacked one on top of the other, like sacks of potatoes, one on top of the other. All of them are full of blood. They're covered with blood, dried blood, and of course they are dead. So he was shocked, he was filled with grief. He ran outside and started screaming, calling for help, asking the neighbors to come and help him. My family is gone, everyone is dead. Police came to the residence and of course took him in for questioning, and took the 1-year-old to hospital just for checkup to see whether he was also hurt, and to actually get him stronger because he was weak. He had not eaten for several days. So he goes to the police station and they question him, who are you? Who are those people in the house? He says, this is my family. Where were you? He says, I was in Clare Estate. That's where we work. That's where our tuck shop is, which is our source of income. And I lost contact with my wife around 28th December. I had left on 25th. I lost contact with her around 28th December. And I sent a neighbor. The neighbor could not trace them. So I decided to come by myself and check on my family. So when I came, I found that scene. And they were like, okay, what's happening? Do you have any idea anyone who would want to hurt your family? Like, what is happening? Because no one just murders people violently like that. As violent as those murders were, for nothing. There must be a reason. There must be a motive. Do you know anyone that would want to hurt you or your family? And it was like, come to think of it, my brother-in-law Solomon was living with us. I left them, my family, with him. But I spoke to him on 28th, 29th, and he was like, my sister had left her phone at home, and he'd make sure she calls me back when she comes back into the house. But the call never happened. And when I tried to call back, his phone was off. But he was a little bit confused because he did not think Solomon would do such a thing, because this was his sister. Remember, this was his sister, and these are his nieces and nephews. So he was actually worried and thinking that something might have happened to Solomon, and was telling actually the police, I don't think Solomon would be a suspect in this matter. I don't think Solomon would be a suspect in this case. So we need to look for him, like maybe something happened. There was maybe an invasion and something happened to Solomon, to my brother-in-law. So we need to find him. We need to help him. So Leonard was released from holding on 2nd of January 2013 after the police ascertained that he had nothing to do with the murders, after all his alibis checked out and his story checked out. So he was released. On the same date, his child, the last born, the 1-year-old that was found dehydrated and weak, almost to the point of death, was also released from hospital. So he was released to him, and they went to live with a relative. And the police, okay, the next other person that they would actually question, the next person of interest, logically, would be Solomon Tsepang Mohale. So this guy, Solomon, had a wife, and the police actually traveled to question her, traveled to where she is, and question and ask her, you know what, we're looking for your husband. Do you know his whereabouts? And she's like, no, he came to see me 29th evening, and he looked like he was in a hurry. He had his clothes packed, and then he left and didn't tell me where he was going. But when they pressed her father, she finally said he went to Lesotho. For those of you who don't know, Lesotho is a landlocked country, and it is landlocked by South Africa. As you can see here, it is landlocked by South Africa, so South Africa engulfs Lesotho. So he just crossed the border and went to Lesotho. And so they started the extradition process. Of course, they sent a request for extradition, but it was a little bit difficult, actually quite difficult, for the Lesotho authorities to trace Solomon Mohale Tsepang. It was difficult, and unfortunately, the extradition did not happen for quite a while. To be precise, it did not happen for a year, actually. So in January of 2014, that is a year after he committed these murders, the police got some intelligence that Solomon was back into South Africa, and he had come to see some family members. I'm guessing he had come to see the wife or something. So he came back to South Africa, and the police actually took this opportunity to grab him. They arrested him while he was sleeping. Actually, in the middle of the night, they actually raided the home and arrested him and took him into custody. That was on January 17th, 2014. So they take him into custody, and they start questioning him, you know, and they start asking him what happened on 28th of December 2012. And they show him the crime scene photos, and they ask him, tell us, you need to tell us because you are with them. You should know what happened to your sister and your nieces and your nephews. And actually, I was surprised to read that he broke down, he started crying, he started apologizing and saying, you know what, I did this. Actually, he confessed to the whole crime. It was surprising to me because this is a person who committed a very horrible crime, and very viciously, and it was so heartless, and against his own flesh and blood, his own family, and his nieces and nephews who are between 3 and 14 years old. And it was just a horrible, horrible crime, and it was a crime that someone who is unfeeling would commit, someone ruthless, someone heartless. But apparently he had been very remorseful, and he had like a whole year to think about what he had done, and he was very remorseful about what he had done and the crime he had committed and the blood on his hands. So this is what happens. This is what happened, guys. Let me tell you what this guy did. So this guy was apparently disgruntled because he was being paid only 1,500 rand a month for the work that he was doing for his sister. And he wanted more. And so one day he was cleaning the house and he saw a gun. He found a gun, and he decided he was going to use this gun to rob his sister, because he had seen his sister counting some money that seemed like a bunch of money the other day. So it was actually premeditated. It was a premeditated murder. He decided he'll kill her and steal this money and run away. So on this fateful date, his sister was up and she was planning to go out, and he sneaked up behind her and actually shot her on the head, execution style, and actually emptied the cartridge in her head. Depending on the kind of gun he was using, I know a 9mm has like 18 bullets. So let's say, for instance, it was a 9mm. He actually shot her 18 times at point blank range on the head. So that's why she was looking so, her body was looking so deformed when the husband saw her, because her head was actually blown open. He emptied the cartridge on her head. And then that was not enough. He actually stabbed her 8 times in the head, chest, and neck. Stabbed her 8 times. That was overkill. Talk about overkill. It's like he was making sure she would like die completely. Overkill. And then, of course, the commotion attracted the kids. The kids were in the bedroom, and when they heard the gunshots and the stabbings, of course, they came to investigate. And they saw their mother on the ground, so they started crying and they were scared. And then he realized these are witnesses, so I need to get rid of them. So he chased the kids to the bathroom and then tried to shoot them and realized he's out of bullets. So he locked them in the bathroom, went to the kitchen, and came back with a knife. Imagine a knife on your poor little nieces and nephews. A knife. He came back with the knife. These are 5 kids. These are 5 kids in the bathroom. He had locked them in, went to the kitchen, came back with a knife. He came back with a knife and stabbed them. So, according to the way the bodies were, according to the examination of the bodies of these kids, the first child and the second child tried to protect their siblings because they had defensive wounds. They are the only ones who had defensive wounds. The other ones did not have defensive wounds, which means they were trying to fight him. They were trying to fight the attacker and save the others. So the first girl, her name was Halalelo. Sorry. Oh my God. Sorry if I mispronounce. The names are a bit tough. She was 14. Her name was Halalelo, and she was stabbed 19 times. Second one, a boy, Tumele, was 10 years old. He was stabbed 43 times. Imagine that, 43 times. The third one, Karabo, she was 6 years old. She was stabbed 6 times. Simfiwe, she was 4 years old. She was stabbed 5 times. And Takiso was 3 years old and was stabbed 5 times. In total, he stabbed the children 78 times. 78. Overkill. Overkill. And this was just totally overkill. And he was targeting the neck, the chest, and the head. So it stabbed the kids a total of 78 times, all of them. The first one 19 times, then 43 times. And the boy got 43 times because he was really fighting. He was trying to save his siblings. So he was like, he stabbed him so many times in anger. The charges were filed against this guy. And guess what? On the day of plea taking, he said not guilty. Why? Not insanity this time. He said not guilty because he had been assaulted, apparently, and he had been tortured by the police to give that confession. He didn't confess to any crime, he said. He didn't pinpoint the crime scene or the murder scene to anyone, he said. And he was like, this is not my statement. I was forced to sign. I was coerced. Therefore, I'm pleading not guilty. And the court actually had to hold a trial within a trial to determine whether the evidence produced against him was admissible or not. So thank God the police did their work very, very well, because they produced evidence and also testimony from a doctor who had examined him before and after the confession, and before and after the pointing out of the crime scene, because he actually took them there and demonstrated how he had killed his family. Started with who, how many times, and he had been examined before and after, and all was well. All was completely well. He had also complained of not being Mirandaized. Mirandaized is the reading of the rights. When they tell you have the right to remain silent, whatever you say will be held against you in the court of law, blah, blah, blah. You have the right to a lawyer. But there was proof that he was. So he was just trying to delay the whole process, and the trial was quickly concluded, and it was ruled that the evidence against him was very much admissible. And finally, this monster got what he deserved on 21st December 2016, when he was sentenced to 6 lifetimes in prison for the 6 lives that he took, plus 12 years for aggravated robbery. In Kenya, we call it robbery with violence. 6 years, lifetimes, plus 12 years, which means he's never going anywhere. He's never getting out. In fact, they didn't even give him a sentence for the young child that he killed, the unborn child that he killed, that his sister was carrying, because the sister was pregnant. That was infanticide. So he's never getting out anyway. He's there for life, which, if you ask me, he very much deserves. Just because you are disgruntled about the amount of money your own sister is paying you to do menial jobs around the house, it wasn't a big deal. If you wanted more than 1,500 rand, speak up, have a discussion with them, tell them it's kidogo money, I'm not comfortable with this, I cannot feed my family with this, we need to talk about this, you need to do something, or find something else to do, leave her house and go. In fact, she was helping him. But him coming there, because he was jobless, he had a wife, and the wife also was a stay-at-home mom, and they had no source of income, nowhere to draw a living from. So she was actually helping him. But to murder your own family like that in cold blood, stabbing the kids 78 times in total, overkill, the woman stabbing her 8 times in addition to shooting her countless times, and then leaving the 1-year-old strapped to his mother's corpse. Imagine, for 3 days, covered in her blood, no eating, no sleeping, crying non-stop, I'm sure. For me, he got what he deserved. And this was a very horrible case. So maybe you guys should tell me what you think about the case of this family. Sorry, I zoned out a little bit there, thinking about the images that I saw while researching. So anyway, we've come to the end of today's story. Please tell me what you think about this criminal and about the massacre or the murder of the Bobore family. Also, if you are an unsubscribed viewer, please kindly consider subscribing to my channel. Like, comment, hit the notification bell so that every time I post, you are notified. I will post, or I am posting, every week, and next week I'm back with another true crime story, be it in Africa or internationally. So yes, please kindly subscribe, comment, like I said, don't be afraid of liking a true crime video. I mean, people have their interest, and if this is your interest like it is mine, then you like the video. So thank you guys, and I will see you next week with my true crime story for the week. Have a nice day or have a nice night, whatever time you're watching, and stay safe. Bye.